And a look at that struggling Giant defensive unit. A lot of familiar names in there, but they have not been performing. Dorsey, Howard, Marshall up front, Banks, Johnson, Diassi, and Lawrence Taylor, who comes off a poor game against the Rams. Collins, Williams, McGriggs, Jackson in the secondary. And when they go to the dime, the rookie Sparks comes on along with Thompson. Sparks winning that job with the departure of Everson Walls. Chris Warren is stopped by Carl Banks. Carl Banks suffering a jammed wrist last week against the Rams, but Bill, he has had a very inconsistent season.
You know, he just jumped inside Mike Jones there, the tight end, and made a good play, and that's the kind of defensive effort you need to start the game to discourage that Seattle running game, and Banks got good penetration there and brought up a 3rd and long for Seattle.
It is a 3rd down and 5 at the 25. Minute and a half gone by. And Gilbaugh short of a first down. John L. Williams stopped by Mark Collins. So the Seahawks will be forced to punt, something that they are accustomed to doing. Rick Tootin will check in. He's second in the AFC, averaging just under 46 yards per punt, and he has punted now 52 times. That is high in the NFL.
Well, he's on pace to break Parsons' record, but if there has been one bright spot for Seattle in an otherwise a little bit dismal start, it's been this guy, Rick Tootin, because he's got a 40.3 net average now, and that's very, very good.
All right, here's Hackett on the return. And that gets the crowd going. A very quiet crowd, we should point out, during the course of the pregame introductions. A 49-yard punt and a 20-yard return. Derek Dodge made the stop. The Giants' offensive line, Elliott, Roberts, Oates, Moore, and Riesenberg. Jeff Hostetler at quarterback. Rodney Hampton and Jared Bunch are the running backs. Ingram, Baker, and Cross are the receivers. When they go 3 wideouts, Ed McCaffrey, second-year player out of Stanford, comes on. It's a first down at the 43. Giants open up with the 2 tight ends. And it's Hostetler off the fake. He could not find anyone. He was chased by Cortez Kennedy.
Well, Cortez Kennedy is a guy that's probably one of the top 2 or 3 young defensive players in the National Football League, and he came all the way from the right side there to pressure Hostetler as he tried to get around the corner.
Well, despite the problems of the Seahawks, the defense has done a decent job. Bryant, Nash, Kennedy, Woods up front. Woods was a question mark for today because of a ankle injury, but he's in there. There's a look at the secondary. When they go to the dime, they send in the 3 defensive backs, Davis, Glasgow, and Dodge. Second down and 8. Here's Hampton. Rodney Hampton last week had a season low 38 yards rushing. This a follow-up to an excellent game 2 weeks ago against Phoenix when he ran for 167.
Yeah, but when you start looking at the Giants offense now and you're a defensive coordinator, you have to say Rodney Hampton is the weapon that the Giants have that you need to contend with first, because he had a 167-yard game a couple of weeks ago, and this guy's really blossomed into an outstanding runner. If you want to stop the Giants, you got to do something about Rodney Hampton.
What about Dave Meggett, though, who had been such a weapon for you and has not been a force? In fact, Meggett, one of many Giants complaining during the course of the week that he has not been used properly. That's Hampton trying to pick up the first down. Is Meggett not being used correctly?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think after Hampton, you have to, if you're coaching defense, you have to say, hey, well, who's the next guy? You go to Meggett. And on the 3rd downs, no matter what you try to do offensively, if you want to take one guy away on 3rd down, you can do it. So they'll take Meggett away, and that puts it on the onus on the other players who got one-on-ones all the way across the field to perform and take the pressure off Meggett so they can't double him all the time.
Now, he had some light complaints during the week. actually mild compared to what we heard from the likes of Eric Moore and, of course, Everson Walls before he departed. First down is picked up. And it is Hampton with the acceleration. How would you accept the complaints of players?
Well, I think anytime you're losing, Marv, you get a little frustration. You get a little problem here and there. Guys talk. Other guys, get quiet. They go into a shell. But basically, you just have to talk it over with the guys and tell them to try to keep it to themselves. After all, it is a team, and if you start pointing fingers, that destroys the team, and then you got no chance at all. It's tough enough to play when you're all playing together.
It is a 2nd down and 7 at the 42. And Hostetler putting it right in the hands of Bunch, and he was not able to hold on.
Well, Jared Bunch is a guy that didn't get much playing time last year, but has really started to develop and appears to be a long-term solution at the fullback position for the Giants. They use a little fullback pattern there to work against the zone, and Bunch probably didn't see the ball coming out of the pocket there, but it's a ball he should have definitely had.
It's a 3rd down and 7, and Meggett has checked in. Hostetler out of the shotgun. Off the pump, and that through the hands of Stephen Baker. Should he have had it?
No, it's a little bit high on the inside, but that was an example there of Dave Meggett coming out of the backfield here. There he is, and there's the Seahawks safety right there, and you see another man waiting inside right there. When Meggett comes, that's an example of the two guys waiting for Meggett, and he's unable to get to the pattern. You see, there's the double covered. He works inside. They have two guys on him. Hostetler has to go to Baker.
And Sean Landeta will punt. It has been a disappointing season for Landeta. Gets the roll, and the Giants able to down it. Renee Thompson keeping it out of the end zone. 39-yard punt, and the Seahawks start from their 2. Well, the Seattle Seahawk offense has been invisible. They have gone 3 straight games without scoring a touchdown. Bill, they're averaging 6 points per game. This an offense that has missed several weapons because of a host of injuries, in particular Brian Blades and Tommy Kane, who's back, the tight end Paul Green, but they have really had huge problems.
Well, yeah, and talking to Tom Flores, when you're playing all your backups as first-line players now because of the injuries, that affects your special teams. So not only does your offense suffer because you drop off when you're playing your second-line players, but the guys that were the nucleus of the special teams now hurt you because they're having to play full-time. So 2 of the 3 areas are affected.
John L. Williams tripped up as he crossed the 5-yard line. Look at this injury list. The 2 quarterbacks, Kelly Stauffer and Dan McGuire out. McGuire out for the season with a fractured left hip. They have been severely hit. They hope Stauffer is back in time for the Washington game in a couple of weeks. Next week is a bye week for the Hawks, which will be welcomed, and then they are home for the Redskins. 2nd down and 4 at the 9-yard line. 6 minutes gone by in the first quarter. Here's Warren. Stopped at the marker by Pepper Johnson.
Well, Seattle is opening up with a 2 tight end attack. I think in talking to Chris Warren yesterday, I kind of got the idea that they would like to try to stay inside on the running game, not really try to run to the corner all that much. He's got a good lead blocker back there in John L. Williams, and I think Seattle's main onus of running attack is going to be kind of between the tackles. At least that's what their featured ball carrier is talking about yesterday.
Chris Warren a yard short of the first down. It's a 3rd and 1 on the 13. Here's Warren. So Warren Picking up the first down, stopped by Steve DiAsi. There has been so much focus on the Giant defensive problems the last couple of weeks. At times, players have appeared confused, and they have certainly spoken out about the read and react that has been deployed by the defensive coordinator, Rod Rust. Was it wrong to bring in a new system, in particular with veteran players, Bill, where it's being force-fed?
Well, I think you have to coach what you know, and that's what Rod Rust knows. That's been his system, and, you know, they committed to doing that, and I don't think Rod Rust can come in and accommodate himself to what's been done here. You know, his knowledge is what he has in the past. It's been successful at other places. So when you go in and coach somewhere, you have to coach what you know.
That's called on John Hunter, who is playing for the injured Andy Heck at left guard. This is a revamped offensive line for the Seahawks. Ronnie Lee is out with a knee problem. Heck is out with an ankle injury. Bill Hitchcock at the right tackle, and Hunter on the left side. It's a 1st and 15 back at the 11. No score halfway through the first quarter. John L. Williams, followed up by Leonard Marshall.
Ball carried by Williams.
Leonard Marshall coming off arthroscopic knee surgery. Did not start last week, but played most of the game.
Well, Leonard Marshall's a guy that really has never been hurt his whole career with the Giants. He seemed to be out there every week, and this year he got that little knee injury, and they had to do the arthroscopic surgery, but looking at him right here, he looks like he's getting back into game shape, and this is a guy that can still make plays for the Giants, and he's a guy that has to be a key force on defense if they're going to get improving.
2nd down, 14 from the 12. And Gilbaugh completes to Williams, but he is stopped. The free safety, Greg Jackson, is right there. Getting back to the point concerning Rod Rust, shouldn't a coach be able to adapt to the personnel that he has? In other words, you're saying that because Rust has had a degree of success with a particular system, and you can say the same thing about Tom Flores of Seattle, who is from the Raider philosophy of going vertical, stretching the offense, and going downfield. But if you don't have the personnel, how do you go with that system?
Well, but this defense isn't that much different, Marv. I mean, it's a basic 3-man front, 3-4 seam. It's the pass coverage where there's a little different. And that's where some of the problems have been involved.
Gilbaugh able to break a couple of tackles following the early trouble, brings across the 20, short of the first down.
Well, this is that rollout play where Gilbaugh is confronted on the corner very, very quickly. The Giants had a blitz of sorts on and were able to pull him up, but he reverses his field and comes back and picks up about 10 yards.
Looks like
Leonard Giant, looks like Leonard Marshall down there.
All right, here is Rick Tootin punting for the 2nd time today. His first for 49 yards. David Beckett is back. Giants and the Seahawks are scoreless with 5:20 remaining in the first quarter from Giants Stadium. Marv Albert with Bill Parcells. And a short punt by Tootin, taking a giant bounce. Only a 30-yard punt. That's a rarity for Tootin, who has had an excellent season. And a timeout has been called with 5:06 to go in the first quarter.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda, it just feels right. By the card, the American Express card. Don't leave home without it. By the ITT Hartford Insurance Group. And by new Hager wrinkle-free cotton pants. 100% cotton, 0% wrinkles.
The Giants back to the offense. First down at the Seattle 49-yard line. Here's Hampton. Rodney Hampton showing the acceleration, and Fall down by Cortez Kennedy. Though you seem to be reluctant to play Rodney Hampton in the first half of his rookie season, as I recall, because of deficiencies in picking up the blitz. Has he improved in that department?
Oh, yeah, without question. And I think anytime you draft an eye tailback like Rodney Hampton was from Georgia, you've got to expect that there are going to be a few deficiencies in blitz pickup early in his career, because all they've done is run the ball and fake the play action in that style of offense in college, like Herschel Walker and other guys.
And Hampton finding the hole. Stiff arms his way for a first down and additional yardage, getting to the 26. It's a 19-yard run, and he was taken out by Dwayne Harper.
Well, Rodney starts one way, and that's a design cutback where Jared Bunch seals off the backside linebacker, Terry Wooden, and Hampton now is loose in the secondary, and once he gets down there, he's a threat to score.
Giants first down at the Seattle 25-yard line. The Giants averaging just under 5 yards per rush. That's due, to the most part, to the running of Hampton. We are just under 4 minutes remaining in this first quarter. Here's Bunch. Fumble covered up by the Seahawks, Patrick Hunter.
Jeff Hostetler called an audible on that play. You can see the back switching around. It's an obvious audible situation, and it's a fullback sweep to the weak side. Bunch cuts it up a little quickly and is taken on there by the middle linebacker, Dave Wyman, and he forces the fumble, and Patrick Hunter on the recovery.
David Wyman with the hit. Wyman, a 6-year man out of Stanford, made a remarkable recovery from major knee surgery. He applied the hit on Bunch, and it was Hunter on the fumble recovery. So the ball back to Seattle. They start out from their 25-yard line. Giants and Seahawks are scoreless with 3:40 to go in this opening quarter, and you saw the movement and a flag throw. Looked to be the left tackle, the rookie from Virginia, Ray Roberts.
Ray Roberts, the first-round draft choice.
Offense, number 73, 5-yard penalty, that remains first down.
You know, when you have new quarterbacks going in and out, inexperienced linemen, new linemen in there, this is some of the things that you get. As a matter of fact, yesterday, Stan Gelbos told us that he caught his lineman looking at the big screen in the Kingdome to see which guy made the mistake on the play. So his answer to that was to try to get him in and out of the huddle a little faster.
Leonard Marshall is back in, shaken up in that last series. Warren with a good second effort. Mark Collins making the contact with Chris Warren.
Chris Warren's a guy that I've really been impressed with, even though he's not getting too much help this year with the Seattle running game. This is a big, talented, strong running back. You see him using the stiff arm on Mark Collins there. This guy can play out wide. He's an accomplished returner. This is one of the up-and-coming, young, talented running backs in the National Football League.
Seattle second down and 10 from their 25. Gelbos swinging out to Warren. And Carl Banks was right there. Yes, Warren has certainly blossomed this season. Last year, a reserve running back and kick returner. Excellent speed for a big man out of Ferrum College in Virginia.
You know, Stan Gelbaugh told us yesterday that they're trying to get rid of the ball a little more quickly to avoid that sack situation.
Well, look at the second half of our doubleheader with the Dolphins colliding with the Indianapolis Colts. Denver taking on San Diego, the Browns, and the Patriots. It's a third down and 11, and Gelbaugh is pulled down. Lawrence Taylor coming up with the sack.
Lawrence Taylor and Leonard Marshall working together on that side. Taylor using the spin move and then recovering on the rookie tackle, Ray Roberts. And, you know, Roberts is seeing a lot of those big pass rushers, and Lawrence gave him one of his best moves. That spin move is a move Lawrence has used for years, and picked up the easy sack.
So with the 4th and 24, here's Tootin. Big rush. And a fair catch for Meggett, who looked to have some difficulty with it. A 38-yard punt, and the ball goes back to the Giants. Well, a moment ago, Lawrence Taylor came up with that sack. Lawrence saying, when you get old, everything is hurting. When I get up in the morning, it sounds like I'm making popcorn. He admitted after the Rams game that his play was poor. He said he made more mistakes in assignments and in decisions last week than he had in his 12 years in the NFL. Lawrence has said he's hanging it up. Do you think he can still play?
Oh, I don't think there's any question he can still play, but you know, there's an old saying in football, Marv, some guys can sing in the choir and some guys can sing solo, and this guy has been singing solo for so long, so well, sometimes it's difficult to go back and join the choir, you know, and he could do it if he wanted to, but when you've been the top gun, the leading sacker, the most valuable player, it's kind of a tough thing to step back. And knowing Lawrence very well, I kind of think that's what he's thinking. You know, he doesn't want to go back and just be the average guy singing in the choir.
Could you see him, though, in a different situation if he were motivated on a club that were winning, being effective?
I think he could do whatever he wanted to do. But as I said, I'm not sure he's at the point where he really wants to do much more than he's done.
All right, Hostetler running for the first down, chased out by Woods. Hostetler going for 11.
Well, this is something that Jeff Hostetler certainly has the ability to do. He's looking carefully down the field now, but you have to keep this guy in the pocket because he will scramble on you very, very quickly. He's a strong guy, and people really underestimate his speed. He is very, very fast when he starts downfield.
Comes off a poor game against the Rams. Throws up high most of the day. Didn't receive much help from the offensive line. Facing a heavy rush. There's Bunch. Well, Bunch in his previous carry coughed it up. This time brings to the 31, where he's met by Terry Wooden.
Giants are trying to create a little balance in their run and attack, alternating the carries between Hampton and Bunch. Now, Hampton's going to get the load, but Bunch is a good change-up guy, and he does take a lot of pressure off what has been for years a tailback-oriented attack at the Giants.
We're winding down in the first quarter. 2nd down and 3 for the Giants at the Seattle 31. Hampton stopped back behind the line. Stacked up by the outside linebacker, Rufus Porter. And that is the end of the first quarter. Seahawks and Giants are scoreless. And there's Giant head coach Ray Handley in his 2nd year as head man of the Giants. Following Bill Parcells, Ray going through a very difficult first season. Has not had a picnic this year. As he mentioned on NFL Live in his chat with O.J. Simpson, he said, at times I do read the New York papers, at times I don't read the papers. Now I'm in that don't read the papers mode. Did you go through that period of not reading the papers, Bill?
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. I think you can be stung by some of the things that happen in the press. I know I was. And, you know, if a writer or a member of the media that you respect that's covering the team goes about and says something about you and you know he's done his homework and he's thorough, it can sting you a little bit. But, you know, if it's just a guy trying to make a name for himself by taking on the coach who hasn't done any work or just trying to stir up controversy, well, I never paid any attention to that.
2nd quarter is underway. Giants and Seahawks are scoreless. And Bunch getting the hole on first down, stopped by Porter. Has the media been unfair to Handley because of his reaction to them? He may have been on the oversensitive side from time to time.
Well, I think there are times when he's been a little bit oversensitive, and hey, there were times when I was oversensitive too, plenty of times. Probably more than got publicized, but hey, that's just the way it is. The coach's relationship with the media, generally speaking, in all sports these days, at best is adversarial.
At best is adversarial.
Right.
Second down and 3, and Hampton is stopped on a slant. Did you ever take media criticism personally?
Oh, sure. Yeah, again, if it was a guy that I respected and I knew had worked and been around and covered the team well and was thorough and he was giving it to me, yeah, I took it personally.
Who was that guy that you respected? It is a 3rd down and 2. But see, Bill, your personality has been that you can kind of jerk around with people, even when things weren't going well. Ray has really taken everything extremely personally.
Well, believe me, I took it personal plenty of times. I was able to hide, though.
Out of the shotgun, Hostetler, incomplete. Intended for Chris Callaway, was covered by Patrick Hunter.
Seattle in a blitz situation there, trying to blitz their linebackers, in this case on their dime defense, the safeties up the middle, trying to disrupt the Giant pattern, one-on-one, and Hostetler throws the ball behind Callaway there. Had that ball been thrown a little better out in front, I think Callaway could have taken it and maybe scored with it.
And now the field goal attempt from Matt Barr, a 36-yard attempt. 5 for 8 on the season. Last week against the Rams, missed from 51, hit from 31. And this one is good. So that is his longest of the season. Barr from 36 to give the Giants a 3-0 lead. Well, the Giants with a 3-0 lead on Seattle, although the Giant offense has not exactly been burning it up here in the first half.
Well, both teams started with the same basic attack, Marv. 2 tight ends, trying to run the ball, try to keep the ball. The wind's a factor over here at the Meadowlands today, and I think, you know, Seattle was against the wind the first half. The Giants had it. Both teams are trying to play that wind a little bit. All right.
It is Barr kicking off to the combination of Warren and Mays. And this is Reuben Mays on the return. Reuben Mays with a good return, taken down from behind by the rookie Philippi Sparks. Rookie player out of Arizona State. It's a 28-yard return by Mays.
Reuben Mays, of course, out of football for a year, and convinced Tom Flores that he still had some football left in him, and back after a year's absence, and he's backing up Chris Warren. And Mays has always been a good returner. He ran one back against us when he was with New Orleans back in the mid-'80s.
Yes, Reuben Mays as a rookie with the Saints ran for 1,300 yards and made the Pro Bowl. It's a first down at the 34. And Gelbaugh's pass was almost picked off by Greg Jackson. It was intended for the tight end, Ron Heller.
Well, Gelbaugh told us that in our meeting that he was wanting to work a little bit inside against the Giant inside linebackers. He felt like they were a little bit more run stopper type guys, and he wanted to work in the middle of the field, and that would mean that he would be using his tight end and his fullback probably in those areas of the passing game.
David Daniels now flanked to the right, and the running back Chris Warren flanked out to the left side for the second down and 10.
There you go.
Williams.
There you go.
Good cutback by John L. Williams, and then he was hammered by Carl Banks short of the first down. Seattle Seahawks come in at 1-6. They've lost 4 in a row. Shut out the last 2 weeks. Last Sunday by the Raiders, 19-0 at the Kingdome. Previous week, flanked by Dallas. Seattle has gone 3 straight games without scoring a touchdown. Last week, they did not have any rushing first downs.
Well, you know, that's what they need to do, start putting a couple first downs together, because unless you do that, you wind up scoreless like they've done for the past couple of weeks.
Gilboa on 3rd and 2 has a first down. Good catch made by David Daniels, second-year player out of Penn State.
David Daniels working against the Giant zone defense. Mark Collins pushes the mill in well and then releases. Daniels works to the open spot, and that's a linebacker's zone. Linebacker should have been back there helping Collins to the inside. Collins did his job pretty well that time.
Seahawks collect their second first down of the day. 4 minutes gone by in the second quarter. Here's Williams, driven back by Steve Diassi. Steve Diassi, a starter this year in the past, used chiefly as the long snapper and in short yardage, goal line situations.
Well, Steve Diassi, a guy that we were able to pick up in a trade from Dallas, free there. The inexperience of the Seattle offensive line is going to show up on any type of maneuvers there, and Diassi made a quick scrape, what we call a scrape move there, and he was in the hole free and, you know, made good solid contact.
It's a second down and 11. Daniels in motion. And Gilboa completes to Williams. It's another first down for the Seahawks. Lamar McGriggs made the stop, but it's a 16-yard pickup.
Well, that's the area. Again, Gilboa said that he wanted to try to attack today, and he's gone in there a couple of times. This time it's with his fullback, John L. Williams, who not only is a good blocker, this guy's an outstanding runner and pass receiver. Hey, he's the closest thing to Roger Craig of the 1,000, you know, 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving. This guy is second to Craig in that regard.
Gilboa 6 for 7 now, 42 yards. Warren, and the Seahawks on this series are running at will on the Giants. Diassi with the stop. You can hear the reaction from the crowd, and not a friendly reaction for the Giant defensive unit.
Tom Flory said that he was going to simplify the offense for these inexperienced linemen. I think Seattle's doing basically man-on-man blocking, not too many fancy schemes. And, you know, they do have a talented runner back here with Chris Warren, so the daylight's starting to show up, and they got the Giants on the ropes a little bit here.
7th play of the drive. First down at the 20. And here's Warren. Diassi making the stop. This a Seattle team that has gone 3 straight games without scoring a touchdown. They're averaging 6 points per game. They've scored only 43 points in 7 games, so you can imagine what the reaction of this crowd would be if the Seahawks go in for a touchdown.
Well, I think it'll turn a little dark pretty quickly, but what's interesting to me is both teams really using the same style of offense, alternating the fullback and the tailback back and forth, mixing in an occasional pass.
Second down, 6. The swing for Williams. And he's bumped out by Greg Jackson from the free safety position.
One thing Tom Flores really stressed to us was, you know, he knows they've been taking too many sacks, too many minus plays. It's been stifling their offense combined with the penalties. So what he wanted to do this week is make Gilboa get rid of the ball quicker and use that 5th receiver a little bit as extra protection. And so far, it seems to have taken a little pressure off Gilboa, and it helped the Seattle pass offense become a little more efficient.
3rd and 5 at the Giant 15. Gilboa off the play action, could not find anybody, now throws to the end zone, but he threw it away. He saw that John L. Williams was well covered by Mark Collins. It is a 4th down and 5, and the field goal unit checking in. John Casey on the season is 5 for 7. Did not have any attempts last week in the game against the Raiders. second-year player out of the University of Georgia. And Casey attempting a 32-yard field goal. The punter, Rick Tootin, will put it down. Giants with a 3-0 lead. 7:32 remaining. First half. High snap handled by Tootin, and Casey's kick is good. 32-yard field goal. So the Seahawks are finally on the scoreboard.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the trucks you can depend on, the trucks that last. By the Canon CJ10 full-color copier, printer, scanner. Now the power of color is yours. By Pennzoil, America's #1 selling motor oil for performance, protection, and quality. And by Coors Light, the silver bullet is the right beer now.
Back at Giant Stadium in the New Jersey Meadowlands, Marv Albert, Bill Parcells, 7:28 remaining in the first half, and the Giants and the Seahawks are tied at 3. So Seattle getting on the board. They had been shut out their previous 2 games by Dallas and by the Los Angeles Raiders. Good kickoff, and Meggett has to stay right there. The Giants at 2-4. They've lost to San Francisco, Dallas, the Raiders, and the Rams. They have beaten the Bears and the Cardinals and are involved in a 3-3 tie here with Seattle. And Bill, the Giants really in a no-win situation today. If they win, people will say, hey, they should win. How can they not beat the 1-6 Seahawks?
Well, but you know, they can't worry about what people are saying. They got to try to put wins together to get back in contention in a hope that they can make a run at the end for the playoffs. And what people are saying, it really is of no consequence right now to this team.
And Rodney Hampton is stopped. Crowd beginning to react. And you can hear the crescendo of boos. The play selection for the Giants to this point, 18 plays. They have attempted 3 passes, 0 for 3, although there were a couple of drops in there, and 15 rushes.
Well, Joe Nash, the Seattle nose tackle, said they were completely geared for the run. Even when Jeff Hostetler went back to pass, he wanted to make sure that they kept him in the pocket. So they're all geared for the run.
And Hostetler is hauled down by Tua Tagovailoa. That is his 2nd sack of the season. And for the Seahawks, their 1st of the day.
Well, what's happened now is the Seahawk defense is got a little gas in their tank. Now there's a false start by the Giants. It's not a penalty, but they snap it early, and the Seahawk defenders are alert and on top of Hostetler.
And the chant of Ray must go heating up here at Giant Stadium. Although Ray, as he pointed out on NFL Live, is wearing the double headsets, so I don't know if he can hear him. I would think he has a feeling about it. Meggett. And he is stopped short of the first down. Wade Hopper up from left corner to make the tackle, and the Giants will punt.
In on the tackle.
I mentioned earlier that Sean Landeta has had a disappointing season. He had so many superb years for you. What has happened with Landeta?
Well, I think it's a question of age a little bit, Marv. You know, he punted for a few years in the USFL before he came to the Giants. He has been one of the top punters, if not the best punter in the National Football League for a long time. But, you know, you can only throw that fastball for so long, and pretty soon a little something starts to come off, and it's come off a little bit on Sean this year.
Warren with the return. Penalty flag thrown. Chris Warren on the return gets to the Giant 40-yard line off a 32-yard punt by Landeta.
This is going to be one of those illegal blocks on the Seahawks.
Yes, it is against Seattle.
Illegal block in the back on the receiving team during the return. Number 47, 10-yard penalty, first down.
That is the backup tight end Mike Jones called on the penalty.
Mike Jones. Now that's a pretty clean block there on Renee Thompson, but there's Jones. Warren just steps out of bounds there on the sideline, but
quarterback Stan Gelbaugh bringing his team to the line of scrimmage. Seattle first down from their 34-yard line. The Giants and Seahawks are tied at 3. Chris Warren for a short pickup, stopped by Carl Banks. Stan Gelbaugh took over for the injured Dan McGuire 2 weeks ago, and Dallas started last week against the Raiders, only 17 of 41 against the Raiders. Gelbaugh has played in the NFL, the CFL, the World League, played with the London Monarchs the past 2 years, leading London to the World Bowl title. 91. Stan was the league most valuable player in his 5th year in the NFL out of the University of Maryland. A hole for John L. Williams, and he has a first down.
well, this is the idea that Seattle and Tom Flores had, trying to stay inside on the running game, and good block by the center Joe Toffelmeyer on Eric Howard, who looks like he's suffering a little bit physically to me watching him here today, Marv. It looks like Eric Howard's knee is still bothering him to a degree, but Seattle wanted to stay basically inside. One note about Gelbaugh, you know, starting for the Monarchs and now in the NFL, this guy's probably played more games in the last 2 years than any quarterback around.
Yes, I don't think it's close. It would have to be a quarterback going right through the playoffs and a Super Bowl on for 2 straight years. Warren, the running back. Gelbaugh, originally the Cowboys' 6th round draft pick back in 86. His first 3 years at Maryland, he backed up Boomer Esiason and Frank Reich, and then started as a senior.
Well, University of Maryland's turned out quite a few quarterbacks. You just named a couple of them, and but in an effort to simplify Seattle's offense, I think Tom Flores has kind of stumbled onto something here. You know, no blocking schemes, just man-on-man blocking, using the 2 tight end formation and motion one of the backs out once in a while, and sometimes simplicity leads to a lot better execution, and that's what he's getting today.
2nd down and 6, and Gelbaugh completes. Nice catch by Mike Jones. And it looks like tempers are flaring. Eric Howard involved for the Giants. John Hunter for Seattle.
Lawrence Taylor, you know, they're putting a tight end in front of Lawrence Taylor in order to slow the pass rush down. And, you know, Taylor gets a little frustrated sometimes when you put someone in front of him there, and it does slow the rush down. And now Heller, he won't take much. He's got to prove it. And that's how those little battles start.
First down at the Giant 44. Gelbaugh getting the time and floats one over the head of John L. Williams. Lawrence Taylor telling us the other day after practice, he said, no one ever rode him as unmercifully as you did his rookie year. You weren't around at this point, and he's telling me that there was a point after taking a verbal beating for days that he screamed at you. He said, cut me, trade me, or get off my back. And he said, we were taken aback somewhat, but you did lighten up on him. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was his rookie year, and I was so anxious to get him going and get him doing the right thing. I think I was putting a little too much pressure on him, and finally he couldn't take it, and he fired back. But, you know, I didn't mind that.
Williams is stopped behind the line, driven back by Taylor. You know, I just can't imagine you getting excited and screaming at someone, Bill. It just seems to be against your personality. All right, there's the 2-minute warning. Giants and Seahawks tied at 3.
Well, Marv, you were asking me whether Lawrence Taylor could still do it. Here he is working against the tight end, Ron Heller. He just throws him aside right up on John L. Williams, and he makes an explosive tackle there. And, you know, once in a while I had to do a little something to try to get Taylor going and keep his concentration. And one time I bought him a plane ticket and told him to go down to New Orleans and bring his helmet, and he didn't have to trade jerseys with Pat Swilling because they both wear 56. Just get Swilling's helmet and let him come up here, and then he stayed down there and play for the New Orleans Saints that week, and Swilling would come up and help work us against the Rams.
Pushing the right buttons. Good play made by Sparks, keeping it away from Williams. Philippi Sparks, who missed most of training camp with a groin injury, so for the most part played special teams, but recently has been used as the dime defensive back, in particular with the departure of the veteran Everson Walls.
Well, this is the guy, Sparks, that they're trying to integrate in, and this is a good way to get a young player involved in the defensive system. You know, throw him in there on a few of the nickel plays and work with him and let him get the feel for the game. Then he's playing special teams and the nickel, and then all of a sudden, you know, maybe he's ready to start for you.
Third punt of the day for Tootin. And Beckett let it go. Down inside the 10-yard line. Well, coming up at halftime, a Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report. Bob Costas, O.J. Simpson, and Will McDonough will bring you up to date all the action from around the NFL. Also, Gail Gardner will visit with Denver Broncos head coach Dan Reeves. That's coming up at halftime. 1:44 remaining in this first half. The Seahawks and the Giants are tied at 3. When was the last time you sat in the stands watching the Giants play?
I never did it in this stadium, but Yankee Stadium, 1970, I think, against the Rams, if I recall. Giants, had they won that game, would have gone to the playoffs, and they didn't win it, though. The Rams beat them.
And again, you hear the boos from the crowd greeting the play selection, with Hampton going for only 1 yard, stopped by Wyman and Porter. And a timeout has been called by Seattle. 1:37 remaining in the half.
Well, part of this 2-minute strategy here with the Giants, I can tell you for sure, is centering around they're concerned about the wind here. You know, they're against the wind. They got, 89 yards to go for a touchdown, and it's tough throwing the ball. The wind's blowing about 20, 25 miles an hour. And tough throwing the ball effectively into the wind, and I think that's why they started with that running play there.
Hostetler, only 1 of 4 in this first half, has not thrown at all on first down. Back to the ground with a penalty flag tossed, and Hampton is hit for a loss. Cortez Kennedy with the reps on Rodney Hampton.
Well, that's one of the interesting matchups, and the Giants are also going to be illegal motion on the tight end, Howard Cross.
You can hear the chant directed at Ray Handley.
Illegal motion on the offense, number 87. The penalty is declined. Brings up third down.
Cortez Kennedy working against William Roberts, and he's working to the outside off Roberts' shoulder, and good penetration by Kennedy. And Cortez Kennedy, one of those young guys in the league, as I said early in the game. This is one of the top 2 or 3 young defensive players in the National Football League. And you better do something about this guy, or he'll be in your backfield all day.
Had a terrific game last week against the Raiders. Bunch reaching out near the first down marker. Good run for the second-year player out of the University of Michigan, Jared Bunch. Clock is running, 1:15 to go in this first half. Giants and the Seahawks tied at 3. 36-yard field goal by Matt Barr and a 33-yard field goal by John Casey, and that has been it. A feeble offensive performance for both clubs. Well, they've called for the yardsticks. Giants are short. Crowd reacts as the Giants send on the punting unit. Giants with only 4 first downs in this first half. Seattle has 6.
Well, the Giants are struggling on offense, and they really desperately try to get the running game going, and it looks like they can run the ball, but you got to mix in some passing somewhere, and you know, they just haven't been able to do that effectively.
And a good punt by Landeta. Chris Warren calling for the fair catch. Well, next Saturday here on NBC, Florida's Gulfstream Park will play host to horse racing's biggest day, the Breeders' Cup. The day's showcase race, the $3 million Breeders' Cup Classic. That's next Saturday, 1:30 p.m. only on NBC.
Well, I have a little interest there. That juvenile filly race down there at the Breeders' Cup. Horse called Saratoga Dew. Friend of mine trains him.
All that free time, huh?
Yeah, that free time. I think Saratoga Dew might be that favorite down there for that race, Mark. I'm sure you'll be in attendance.
Well, a man of leisure can devote time to those activities. 57 seconds remaining in the first half. Giants and Seahawks are tied at 3. And Gelbaugh looking to put it up on first down. Works the screen with Williams, but he is stopped back behind the line by Pepper Johnson. Seattle into the hurry-up.
Tackle by Johnson.
Seattle with the win now here. Gelbaugh's hope is he could hit 1 or 2 passes and maybe take a shot at a very long field goal.
And that is caught. Beautiful catch by Lewis Clark. Although the Giants are claiming that it should be incomplete, but it is a completed pass going for 16.
Lewis Clark working against Mark Collins, and a little turn-in pattern. Greg Jackson trying to come over and give some help, but this is one of the things about Rod Russ's defense here that we talked about. It does put more pressure on the cornerbacks. Predominantly in the past, the Giants have been a zone defensive team. Mark Collins, Perry Williams used to be in zone corners, but in this system, they're forced into a lot more single or man-to-man coverage than they have been in the past.
Timeout taken by Seattle. They have 1 remaining. Carl Banks, who went down in the previous series, we're told, pulled a muscle in his left leg, and he may not return. So Banks, who has had injury problems throughout the season, may sit it out the rest of the way. 25 seconds to go in this first half. Seattle first down from their 44.
If the Giants lose Carl Banks, they're losing one of the mainstays on their defense, and that's a guy that they can ill afford to lose. He's still got a lot of good football in front of him.
And Gelbaugh throwing deep, looking for Kane, who was covered by Collins. Tommy Kane returning after sitting out because of a knee and ankle problem. He's made it back from major knee surgery, although he's had the knee difficulties this season.
Tommy Kane's a guy, though, that could give a little spark to this offense, and I think Tom Flores is desperate for that in the passing game. That was a blitz situation. Seattle blocked the blitz well, and Gelbaugh tried to air it out, but Tom Flores told us he'd been charting the deep passes that they threw over the course of the season, and they're only 2 out of 20, and he'd like to be, 3 or 4 out of 10.
20 seconds remaining in the half. And down goes Gelbaugh. It's coughed up. Still loose. Picked up by Eric Howard. Gets it down to the 5. 8 seconds remaining as a timeout is taken by the Giants. Oh, an enormous break for the Giants. Eric Howard with the recovery.
Eric Howard on the pass rush. Keith Hamilton is the one that strips the ball away. There's Marshall after it. He can't get it. Jones tries to recover it for Seattle, and there Howard's trying to pick it up and score a touchdown with it, and Roberts finally wrestles him to the ground. Now, the Giants might have a chance, for one play, and when that play's over with, they want an immediate timeout if the guy's in bounds, or they might throw it in the end zone.
Ball spotted at the 7. what would you call right here?
Oh, I'd throw a pass here. Try to throw a pass, quick pass, into the end zone. If it's incomplete, you kick the field goal.
All right, first and goal at the 7. 8 seconds remaining. Let's see how Ray Hadley plays it. Hostetler throwing to the end zone, and it's broken up. 3 seconds to go in the half. Patrick Hunter, number 27, 7-year man from Nevada, able to break it up.
Well, that was good play selection. The Giants faked the run, and they had the guy where they wanted him, and they just couldn't get the ball to him quickly enough. Broken up by Patrick Hunter.
Eric Brown, the rookie from Notre Dame, backup tight end, the intended receiver. 24-yard field goal attempt for Barr, who earlier hit from 36. Only 3 seconds left in the half. So the Giants take a 6-3 lead. A successful field goal that is not met with great enthusiasm by this crowd. Now to Bob Costas for the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report. All season they did account for a field goal in the first half. Megan and Smith, the return man. This is Joey Smith, who took a shot. And the Seahawks feel they've jarred it loose. They're indicating that they have recovered. The officials unraveling. Joey Smith, a second-year player out of Louisville, did a good job last week in the kick return game against the Rams. And it is recovered by Seattle, so Smith coughed it up.
Recovered by Seattle.
Smith on a middle return, Megan on the lead block, but the ball is knocked loose by Malcolm Frank. That was a vicious hit, and he just wasn't able to hold it. Now the Seahawks, not only do they have the win, but to start the third quarter, they have excellent field position.
And the ball recovered by James Jones, backup running back, 10-year man out of the University of Florida. Seattle first down at the Giant 19. That's Clark, 84, in motion. Williams cuts back. Hit down by Diassi.
Ball carried by Williams. Diassi.
That play was well contained by the Giant defense. That might have been a chance there for Tom Flores to go for the touchdown right after that turnover, but he elected to stay on the ground with John L. Williams and brings up a 2nd and 8. And, you know, this is where Seattle's been having some problems. The long 2nd and 3rd downs is where they've been least effective. If they can keep that yardage down, that takes a lot of pressure off Gelbo.
It's a 2nd down and 8 at the 17. Opening minute, third quarter. Off the swing, Williams reaching out to the 15-yard line, stopped by Greg Jackson. With Carl Banks out because of a leg injury, the Giants going with Canavis McGee as the outside linebacker on the left side. McGee, a second-year player out of Colorado. 3rd down and 5 at the 15.
3rd and 5.
Giants 6, Seahawks 3. It's Williams, and he has a first down. Lawrence Taylor making the stop. John L. Williams made the Pro Bowl the last 2 years as an alternate in his 7th NFL season out of the University of Florida.
Well, Gelbo runs a little sprint draw there to Williams coming back against the grain, and we have an injured Seahawk down. I believe it's the left tackle, Ray Roberts. And, of course, they're so short on people right now. I really don't know who they could put in to take his place.
And apparently the Seahawks were just short of a first down. We'll be right back.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Hertz #1 Club Gold. Hertz's fastest service, now in more locations coast to coast. By the 25th Anniversary Diamond, a brilliant celebration of the loving marriage. By Delta Airlines. At Delta, we love to fly, and it shows. And by American Honda, who has been making quality cars in America for the past 10 years.
Just a moment ago, the rookie left tackle Ray Roberts shaken up, taken out, replaced by Sean Farrell, veteran from Penn State, signed with Seattle as a free agent. Big play right here, a 4th down and 1, and Chris Warren driving for the first down. And now here's Roberts back on the field, so he apparently is okay.
Well, that's going to be a big help to Seattle, but both of those short yardage situations that Seattle has had today, they've elected to run this same play. The pitch to Warren makes it look like a sweep and then turns it up very quickly, and sometimes you catch the defense over pursuing outside, and that's what's happened on the 2 real short yardage plays that Seattle's had against the Giants so far.
Seahawks with a 1st and goal at the 8. 3 minutes gone by in the 3rd quarter. Warren and a flag thrown. Marshall and Taylor combined to make the stop. Referee Ed Hotchulai.
That's going to be a false start against Seattle, illegal motion. I'm sure the Giants will take this.
Illegal motion on the offense, number 32, moving towards the line at the snap. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
And that is John L. Williams called on the motion. The Seahawks leading the NFL in penalties. And they're set back to a 1st and goal at the 13. Seattle Seahawks have not scored a touchdown in 14 quarters. Shut out the last 2 weeks. Gelbaugh throwing for the end zone. Touchdown! What a catch by Tommy Kane. So that is the end of the streak for the Seahawks, and they do it against the Giants.
Well, Gelbaugh really wasn't looking for Kane as a primary receiver. He was looking on his right side. That pattern was well covered by the Giants on the right side. And then you see Kane working off the backside against the cornerback Perry Williams, and he escapes in the back of the end zone over Lamar McGriggs. Now, I'm pretty certain that McGriggs should have been back a little deeper helping Williams on that particular route. But to Gelbaugh's credit, he finds him, and a nice touchdown with the feet by Kane.
Point after by Casey, and the Seahawks have taken a 10-6 lead on the Giants.
Through to Kane. His primary receivers were over here. John L. Williams, who's covered by the advance and safety, Greg Jackson, and the tight end Mike Jones. The linebacker right there is on him. Now he goes back to Kane in the back of the end zone, but you see the safety Lamar McGriggs in front jumping up. He should have been helping Williams on that touchdown play, and Kane escaped and got his feet down very nicely for the touchdown.
And here is Meggett on the kickoff return. Dave Meggett breaking tackles, bringing across the 30-yard line. Derek Dodge made the tackle.
Dave Meggett, one of the big play potential guys on the Giants, an accomplished returner as well as pass receiver. And if the Giants are going to get going, it's guys like Meggett and Hampton and Ingram that are going to have to get them going. They just need some impetus on the big play of the big play variety.
First down at the 32. Hampton could not get to the outside to make the turn, and a penalty flag is thrown. Terry Wood made the stop.
Flag on the play.
That's going to be a face mask on Terry Wood.
Face mask on the defense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Wooden doing a good job skating to the outside, but he comes up and Hampton stiff arms him, and he's just trying to grab hold. And you know, that's not a flagrant violation, but that's one of those 5-yard face masks, and it's a good call by the official.
So a first down, 1st and 5 at the 37. And again, penalty marker.
False start prior to the snap, and number 86 in the offense. 5-yard penalty. It remains first down.
And that's the rookie out of Notre Dame, Derek Brown. First penalty assessed on the Giants.
Well, you see him on the top left side of the screen there, and he false start, and of course the Seattle defense is trained to react, and they just touch him, and it's 5 yards. Now we're back to that 1st and 10.
Well, a new twist on the Ray Must Go chant to the tune of the Atlanta Brave Tomahawk. So Ray Handley hearing it from the crowd. Young man to the right, not involved in the Tomahawk salute, though. He was trying to wave to friends. Ray Handley's Giants are trailing the Seahawks by the score of 10-6. The Seahawks scoring a touchdown a moment ago. Their first touchdown in 14 quarters, 51 series, 215 plays. A 13-yard toss from Gilbaugh to Tommy Kane. 4 minutes gone by in the 3rd. Jeff Hostetler is only 1 of 5. Back to the ground for Buck, and he's stopped. Cortez Kennedy was right there.
All carry by Bunch.
The Seattle defense, you know, they haven't had a touchdown or they haven't had a lead in so long. You know, if they get a little ray of hope like they have right now, guys like Cortez Kennedy and Wooden and Porter, you know, they've got some guys on defense that can make some plays, and they've been waiting a long time to have a game where they felt like they had a chance to win, and they obviously feel like that right at this point.
2nd down and 10. And Hostetler to throw. Heard the sarcastic roar from the crowd, and a flag is thrown. It's an interference. Stephen Baker, the intended receiver. Wayne Harper draped all over him. Meanwhile, Hostetler shaken up. Hostetler facing the pressure from Tua Tagovailoa. Let's see what the call is. Is it offensive or defensive interference? It appeared the officials were about to call it on the Giants. Offensive interference.
Pass interference on the defense, number 29.
The call was
Automatic
changed.
first down.
It goes against the Seahawks.
Well, you see Dwayne Harper over the back of Stephen Baker there, and you know that is pass interference. He's trying to go for the ball, but you cannot go through the receiver to the ball. You can go around them. Now here's Hostetler getting hit, you know, from the backside by Cortez Kennedy, and he just flattens him out and pancakes him.
Costly 35-yard penalty. Giants first down at the Seattle 33. And Rodney Hampton is swamped under. Nash and Tua Tagovailoa combining to make the stop. It's an advance of 2, a 2nd down and 8 at the 31. The Seahawks 10 and the Giants 6 with 5 minutes gone by in the 3rd. With Bill Parcells, I'm Marv Albert from Giant Stadium in the New Jersey Meadowlands. Baker now flanked to the left. Ingram to the right. Running backs are Hampton and Bunch. Hostetler able to complete to Ingram for 22 yards.
Jeff Hostetler read man-to-man coverage. You know, you see the bump and run by Harper. Ingram working outside there, and it looks like Harper pulled off for a second, but Ingram, nice reception, gets his feet down. The question is, did he have control of the ball as he went out of bounds there? And it looks like he just got it in as he touched his feet down.
1st and goal at the 9. First catch for Ingram, only the second completion by Hostetler. Bunch trying to go to the outside. Wooden and Blackman combining on the stop of Bunch.
Mark Ingram, he's another guy that's capable of making big play for the Giants. And the ball, you know, thrown, he gets his feet down very nicely. You know, he's trying to get possession. Looks like he has it just as he goes out there.
Last week against the Rams in that losing effort, Mark Ingram had his best day of the season. 5 catches, 62 yards. 2nd and goal at the 7. Hostetler on the run, and he's in for the touchdown. And he took another shot. Rufus Porter with the hit on Jeff Hostetler.
You know, Jeff Hostetler pulls the ball down very quickly there. The Giant offensive line pushes the defenders fast, and then he just makes a beeline, you know, for the end zone and goes head first. Hostetler's a guy that, you know, he will not protect himself when he's running. He runs like a running back.
And now Barr try the extra point. Ingram will hold with Hostetler taking that hard hit. So Mark Ingram doing the holding, and Barr puts it through. The Giants recapture the lead. Giants lead by 3.
On that last Giant touchdown, you know, Jeff Hostetler back to pass, but, you know, quickly determines that he's going to get some pressure and his receivers are covered, so he pulls it down. And as I said, he's more like a running back down the field than a quarterback. He takes a hard hit from Rufus Porter, but hey, the quarterback's job is to get his team in the end zone, and he took it upon himself that time to do it.
And he took a number of hard hits last week in Anaheim against the Rams. 6 plays, 68 yards, leading to that Giants score. Here's Chris Warren. So Warren reaching out to the 30, stopped by Jesse Campbell, recent addition to the Giant roster. I know you have, on the subject of Mark Ingram, vivid memories of a catch made by Ingram. This the catch he made just a moment ago, big one in that last series, leading to the touchdown. But Super Bowl 25, Giants trailing Buffalo 12-10 on the 3rd and 13, and Hostetler hit Ingram, who was able to evade 5 would-be tacklers long enough to gain a crucial first down. Giants went on to score on an Otis Anderson TD run, take the lead, and went on to beat the Bills 2019.
Well, he's one of the guys that's capable of making a big play in Super Bowl 25. That was as big as any of them.
John L. Williams on the reception, a short pickup met by Pepper Johnson. 7:40 remaining, 3rd quarter, and the Giants with a 13-10 lead on the Seahawks.
Gelbaugh continuing to work exactly where he told us yesterday that he was going to. He wants that tight end fullback combination inside. It's kind of a safety valve. It's a quick release thing, and he knows what he's got there, and he's gone to it 3 or 4 times today.
2nd down and 6 from the 34. On the slant, Williams. Stopped by the nose tackle, Eric Howard. Well, a reminder, next Saturday, it'll be the season premiere of NBA Inside Stuff, the entertainment show of the NBA, hosted by Ahmad Rashad in Willow Bay. The Magic is back, and Ahmad will sit down with Earvin Magic Johnson of the Los Angeles Lakers and hear his thoughts on making his return to the NBA. It's all next Saturday at noon Eastern Time on NBC.
Now this brings up that short yardage situation again. Now Seattle's had 2 of these before, and both times they've run to their left side on a pitch sweep. It doesn't look like they're going to do it this time, but in fact, Gelbaugh looks a little confused as to what to do.
It is a 3rd and just short of a yard. The Seahawks taking the timeout. We'll be right back. Tom Flores, head coach of the Seahawks, also president of the Seahawks in his 31st season of the NFL as a player, coach, and front office executive, still team president. No longer goes by the GM title, removed himself as the Seahawks top contract negotiator. A wise move when you're dealing with players on an everyday basis.
Yeah, and you know, Tom's a guy that, you know, was out of football, not out of football, but, you know, off the sidelines for a number of years, and now he's back in it. You know, I asked him why he went back, and, you know, he said, well, I'm just chasing the big game thrill.
Oh, the big game thrill. Well, he has an important play here. 3rd down and less than a yard. Gelbaugh will throw, swings it out to Williams, and he has stopped. A loss on the play. Seahawks not able to pick up the 1st down. Greg Jackson made the tackle.
That play was extremely well defensed by the Giants. Sometimes a little drop back pass, very uncommon on 3rd and 1. You know, Gelbaugh releases it out, but a nice open field tackle by Greg Jackson. And of course, he gets some help there, and you know, that's a real good play by the Giant defense.
So Tootin back to punt for the 5th time. Meggett awaiting the punt at the 10. A big rush, and Tootin just did get it off. Meggett to the 25. Good coverage by the Seahawks. 35-yard punt and a 10-yard return. Rick Tootin, who has a familiar punter's itinerary. He's been around Philly, Buffalo, Washington, Green Bay, San Diego, and Seattle. 3rd punter that was tried last year by Seattle, made the club, and has had a very good season this year.
Well, when you have net punting of 40.3, you know you found a home, because that, if you anything above 36 on net punting is outstanding, and he's at 40. You know, that's an outstanding net punting average.
Giants from their 28. And Bunch is driven back. Jared Bunch stacked up by the middle linebacker David Wyman.
Well, earlier in the game, we saw Cortez Kennedy working outside. Here you see him working inside, and now Wyman scrapes off behind Kennedy. So those guys kind of got a little thing going there. Kennedy will work outside off Roberts' shoulder, and Wyman stays in. And then that time, Kennedy came inside, and Wyman scraped out and made solid contact.
2nd down and 9 at the 29. Derek Brown in motion, and flags are tossed. May have been the left tackle, Jumbo Elliott, who has been the cornerstone of the Giants' offensive line. And I know, Bill, a
False start prior to the snap on the offense, number 76. 5-yard penalty. It remains 2nd down.
Yes, it is, Elliott. This guy a favorite of yours over the years?
Yeah, John Elliott, there he is moving a little too quickly there, but when we first got him, we had a conditioning drill with all our players were required to perform, and John came in. He couldn't get through the drill the first year, and he was kind of passed out over in the dressing room. I asked him what happened. He says, well, Coach, I was just thinking about all that money I signed for, and he said, I just got dizzy.
Yeah. 2nd down and 14. Hostetler with a long look and goes deep. Oh, wide open, Stephen Baker. A 46-yard pass play. Dwayne Harper on the stop of Baker.
Well, Stephen Baker, you know, there you see him coming down the field, working on the post pattern. Now, Eugene Robinson, number 41, knows the ball's coming, but he just loses sight of it. And instead of being able to play the ball, he's just recovering for field position. And as a result, the ball slows down, Baker slows down, and he didn't see any of that happen.
Giants very rarely throw long. In the past, Baker had been a deep threat. Today, Chris Callaway also seeing additional action. That was Baker's first catch of the day. Here's Hampton down to the 25-yard line. Jeff Bryant, left defensive end, made the stop. Stephen Baker with only 11 receptions this season, 7 of the 11 in one game against the Chicago Bears.
Well, Baker's a guy, you know, in order to get the ball to your wide receivers consistently, you have to have someone inside to take the pressure off. And, you know, I was fortunate when I was coaching here. We had Mark Bavaro. He could take the pressure off any wide receiver.
Bunch finding daylight, and he broke a tackle. Has a first down. Eugene Robinson made the stop.
Well, Bunch again mixing the handoffs with Hampton and through the secondary. Now this is the safety's worst nightmare there. Eugene Robinson seeing that 250-pound fullback break loose, and he has to come up and take him on. And this Bunch is coming along pretty well for the Giants, and he can take a lot of pressure off everybody if he gets going.
13-yard run for Bunch. 1st and 10 at the 13. Hampton. Terry Wooden would not let go as Hampton tried to drive for additional yardage. We come up on 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter. It's a 2nd and 7 down at the 10-yard line. The Giants with a 13-10 lead on the Seahawks. The go-ahead touchdown scored by Jeff Hostetler. Jeff Hostetler taking over for the injured Phil Simms. Giants expect Simms back on the active roster before the season is over, but they've made it clear that Hostetler will remain as the starting quarterback. Hampton. Porter to Tagaloa combining to stop Hampton.
The momentum has really changed. You know, Seattle had it early here in the third quarter, but now it's shifted back with the pass interference, the Ingram's catch, and then that long pass again to Baker. And now the Giants are back to just trying to pound Seattle and, you know, really try to take control of this game. Now, if they're able to get the touchdown here, I think they could, you know, go a long way to putting it out of reach for the Seahawks.
It is a 3rd down and 4 at the 7. Hostetler, touchdown. In McCaffrey, the second-year player from Stanford, with his first catch of the day, and the Giants extend the lead. Giants 19 and the Seahawks 10. For McCaffrey, his 2nd touchdown of the season. Hostetler back now as the holder. And here's Matt Barr. So the Giants have taken a 20-10 lead with 56 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
Well, here's the reason why McCaffrey's free in the end zone. Brian Davis working inside. McCaffrey goes inside. Davis then looks for the ball, takes his eye off McCaffrey, who broke back to the outside, and Davis didn't see him quick enough to recover. And good throw by Hostetler, and touchdown Giants.
Short kickoff by Barr, handled by Mays. And Reuben Mays brings across the 30-yard line. Giants with a 20-10 lead, 47 seconds to go in the third quarter. The Giants in the first half accounted for only 84 total yards. In the third quarter, they have picked up 110.
Well, they have a couple of nice long pass receptions, one to Ingram, one to Baker, and, you know, as I said at the half, you know, if you mix that passing in with pretty good running, then you really have something going, and it resulted in 2 touchdowns here in the third quarter.
Seahawks start at the 31-yard line. They have Chris Warren flanked to the right. Gilbaugh over the middle to Williams, and has a first down. Run out by McGee. That's a 16-yard hookup.
Well, I hate to keep beating this dead horse, but it's the same thing the other way. This time, John L. Williams just releasing underneath inside the coverage, and you see Pepper Johnson chasing him. He eludes Mark Collins, and then, of course, McGee forces him out of bounds. But John L. seems to be the security blanket today for Stan Gelbaugh.
First down at the 47. 15 seconds left, third quarter. Warren tried to stiff arm his way, but he's taken back for a loss by Canavis McGee. As we come to the end of the third quarter, we'll be back after these messages from your local station. Back at Giant Stadium, Marv Albert with Bill Parcells as we get set for the start of the fourth quarter. Bill will show you how difficult things have gone for the Seahawks this season. 10 points represents their second highest point total of the year. They're 1 up, 6 down. They've lost 4 in a row. Their only win was a 10-6 victory in Foxborough over New England back on the 20th of September. The most points they scored, 17 in a 19-17 loss to the undefeated Miami Dolphins.
Well, 10 points isn't going to get you too many places.
This is 2nd and 14, and John L. Williams with another reception. That's his 10th, but not picking up the yardage is illustrated right there. He had 6 catches last week against the Raiders, and today 10 catches for only 43 yards. As you said, he's a safety valve for Gelbaugh.
Well, they were hoping to catch the Giants in a deep drop zone there on the 2nd and long. You know, sometimes a screen is a good call against the zone defense, especially on long yardage, but the Giants reacted well. Mark Collins and came up and made the play. Now they have 3rd and extra long into the wind, and you know, you can see the stats there on the part of Seattle. 10 first downs, that's almost a game total.
Averaging only 6 points per game. Gelbaugh had the time, but overthrows Rob Thomas, the intended receiver. And the punting unit coming on once again. 6th punt of the day for Tootin. David Meggett dropping back inside his 20-yard line. Well, the 10-point lead for the Giants has, at least for the moment, quieted this crowd that earlier was chanting "Ray must go." And a weak punt by Tootin. Meggett lets it go. A reminder coming up next on most of these NBC stations, game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. Dan Marino and the undefeated Dolphins will go up against the Indianapolis Colts. Some of you will see John Elway and the Broncos take on the San Diego Chargers, or the Browns and the Patriots. That was only a 33-yard punt. So the Giants back to the offense with a minute gone by in this fourth quarter. Setting the Giant offensive line, John Elliott, Doug Riesenberg at the tackles, William Roberts, Eric Moore at the guards, and Bart Oates at center. Eric Moore in the starting lineup despite the explosive week that he had. Shouting matches during the game last week against the Rams with the offensive line coach Fred Hoagland, a one-time Seahawk, and went at it with Ray Handley the other day at practice. Here's Hampton finding a hole. Hampton to the 40, stopped by Hunter, and Hampton goes for 14.
Well, this is the first real room that Rodney Hampton has had, and he's on the right side there, running in there behind the right guard, Eric Moore and Doug Riesenberg. Moore making a good block, and there's Eugene Robinson making another attempt at a tackle, and Hampton's down there for the first down.
Bill Moore said he wants out of New York. How do you handle this? You had little incidents with him also in your days as head coach.
Well, I had more than my share of shouting matches with players too, Marv, and you know, in the frustration from time to time, you get those things, and players say things, but you know, coaches have been hollering at players since football started. You know, Vince Lombardi used to holler. Don Shula hollers. You know, Mike Ditka hollers. George Harris used to holler. All those coaches, I hollered a lot. And, you know, a player can take it two ways. You know, he can take it personal, and, you know, he can pout about it and you know, try to run away from it. Or, you know, you can hold your head high and take it out on the opponent. And most of the time when coaches yell at players, that's what they're hoping to do, get the guy to take it out on the opponent. Sometimes guys react the wrong way.
See, I'm so surprised that you say you were screaming at players. We have found you such a low-key, understated guy from the broadcast point of view.
Well, when you get down on that sideline once in a while, it's a little different, Marv. And in the heat of the game, a lot of things are said that once you leave that field, you got to put them behind you. And if you can't put them behind you, then you know you can't stay involved in the sport. You really can't.
It is a 3rd down and 5 at the 45-yard line. Can you visualize returning to coaching?
Can I visualize returning to coaching? Well, after hearing some of the things here today, you know, I'm not certain that I could visualize it, but you never know. You miss the big game thrill, and I miss it just as much as anybody. Like Tom Flores was saying, you know, you keep chasing that thrill.
Callaway making the catch. Brian Davis on the stop. It's a 10-yard advance, and it is a 1st down for the Giants.
Callaway, a little delay pattern, working away from the Seattle defender, Brian Davis, and picking up a nice conservative short possession route.
Yes, Chris Callaway signed as a Plan B free agent after 2 years with the Steelers. He was used primarily as a 3rd down receiver by Pittsburgh, and seeing more action here today, rotating with Stephen Baker. It is a 1st down at the 45. With another good run. Terry Wooden and Eugene Robinson combining to make the stop.
Well, the Giants kind of got this running game going the way they want now. They got the wind behind them. They got a 10-point lead, and you know, they're driving in the 4th quarter, and this is the kind of scenario I think Ray Hanley would have hoped to start the game with, you know, quick lead and then be able to dominate in the running game. But they've got it pretty much going the way they want to now.
2nd and 1 at the 36. And a nice cutback by Bunch. A very impressive run by Bunch, taken down by Hopper. Last year, as a rookie, Jared Bunch had only 1 rushing attempt and 2 pass receptions.
Well, he's coming into his own now, though, and you see there's no hole. Cortez Kennedy right there. They're chasing him from the backside. You know, he stiff arms Dwayne Harper, and he's down the sideline. Harper recovers and throws him out. But this is a nice 1-2 punch the Giants have in their run and attack. As a matter of fact, you know, I can't think of anybody who's got a better, you know, 1-2 fullback, tailback offense just running the ball.
And Bunch went for 23. Giants 1st down at the Seattle 13. Hampton getting to the 10-yard line. I asked Ray Hanley the other day at practice if he could rewrite history, if he had another shot to do something all over again, what would that be? You know what he said, Bill? He said he would have set his news conferences later in the day, in effect to make it less convenient for the press.
Oh, is
something you
right?
can relate to.
Yeah, but I don't think that would have been on the top of my list if I could rewrite history. But
yes. Gallows humor.
There are a couple of 3rd down calls I would have liked to have rewritten from time to time.
2nd down and 7 at the 10. Giants lead by the score, 20-10. And Bunch with a short pickup. Stopped by Cortez Kennedy, and words between a couple of the players. I see Bart Oates involved. Bart, a practicing Attorney taking this one out of court.
Yeah, Bart Oates is been kind of the anchor of that Giant offensive line for a long time. And, the best thing about Bart Oates, certainly I know it's continued since I left the Giants, but while I was there, he's always out there. He never missed a game. He never missed a practice. And, when you have a guy as consistent as that, I can't recall him having any injuries to speak of, and he's always been there, and that's very comforting for a coach to have a player like that.
Here's Hampton on a 3rd down and 6, and he's taken for a loss by Terry Wooden. And the Giants are hearing it from this Giant Stadium crowd.
There's Hampton on the sweep bunch leading, but Jeff Bryant gets off the block of Doug Riesenberg, and Terry Wooden, the linebacker, is there, and there's just no room now. That brings on Matt Barr for the field goal, and I can't say enough good things about this guy here. He made an awful lot of pressure kicks for the Giants. In fact, he made probably one of the 2 biggest kicks in the history of the franchise.
And this is a 30-yard attempt. Barr is 3 of 3. And the Giants lead the Seahawks 23-10. Bill, you mentioned a moment ago, Matt Barr pulled off one of the 2 biggest kicks in Giants history. You remember this one, the 1990 NFC Championship, going down to the last play, and a 42-yard field goal by Matt Barr as time expired gave the Giants a come-from-behind 15-13 win over the 49ers and a second trip to the Super Bowl. That other big one pulled off by Pat Summerall, 49-yard field goal in December of '58 against the Cleveland Browns to give the Giants a tie for the Eastern Conference title.
That's right, and I think I had a lot of kickers here with the Giants. Ali Hodges-Sheik had a great year, but if I had to pick a guy to make one kick for one time, that'd be the guy, Matt Barr.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Pontiac and your nearby Pontiac dealers. We are driving excitement. By Sony Handycam, America's most popular camcorder. By new improved Head & Shoulders. Now it works even better to prevent flakes. And by Coors Cutter non-alcoholic brew.
Just under 7 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter. Giants with a 23-10 lead on the Seahawks. And Seattle starting out from their 20-yard line. Willis Clark to the left, David Daniels to the right. And the running backs are Chris Warren, John L. Williams. And it's Williams. Nice second effort. Reaching out to the 29-yard line, stopped by Ed Reynolds. We touched on the fact earlier that the Giants are certainly an aging ball club, in particular on the defensive side of the ball. Look at this grouping.
Yeah, a lot of veteran players there, and once you get in those 30s, of course, there's always some sentiment that you have to replace them. And if that's the case, the Giants have got a lot of work to do there because they got a lot of guys in the 30s. 2nd down and 1. And Gilbaugh incomplete, intended for Williams. I'd have to say, though, if you look at one defensive player as the man you would want to build around, it would have to be Pepper Johnson, a 7-year player out of Ohio State. And he's really replaced Lawrence Taylor as the big play man on the Giants defense. No, I don't think there's any question that Pepper Johnson's the guy that's the lead horse now. And there he is, intercepting a pass against Minnesota a few years back. And Pepper's a very excitable guy. Excitement and leadership, that type of thing are one thing. But, this guy can make a lot of plays for you, too. So when you combine all those things, then you're in business. But, just being excitable isn't any good if you can't make some plays. But this guy can do, a little of both. He can stop the run. He plays good pass defense, and he can be a vocal leader, too.
Mike Jones picking up the first down, stopped by Greg Jackson.
Gelbaugh faking away to Warren there and bootlegging on the 3rd down. short yardage and you know, picking it up to Mike Jones. Nice, easy throw. But the Giants will make some concession yardage right now. You know, they don't want to take the chance and give up the big play quick.
And Gelbaugh again going the short route. Not able to connect with John L. Williams, who was covered by Pepper Johnson. Now you look at the completion statistics today for Stan Gelbaugh, 17 of 25. And you say, hey, that's pretty good. But then look at the yardage, only 98 yards. And as you say, at this stage of the game, it is concession yardage.
Well, the big thing, too, Marv, it's average per pass attempt that's the critical passing stat. They've been back to pass 25 times, and they only have 98 yards. And, you know, that's not 4 yards per pass attempt. So, really, you're not doing very well unless you're averaging 7.5 or 8 yards per pass attempt.
2nd and 10 for the Seahawks. Completed to Williams, but again, a short pickup. Renee Thompson made the hit.
The thing the Giant defense doesn't want to do, though, is let those receivers catch the ball continually here late in the game and then get out of bounds with them. You know, they'll concede some yards, but you don't let the guy out of bounds while you're conceding the yards.
It's a 3rd and 7 at the 36 as we approach 5 minutes. Remaining 4th quarter, Giants 23, Seahawks 10. Completed to Rob Thomas. Covered by Greg Jackson.
Gilmore to Rob Thomas. Given out.
So a first down for Seattle. You know, it doesn't get any easier for the Seahawks. Next week is an off week on the schedule. They get the bye, and then they are home for Washington. And how about that Giant schedule coming up? Next Sunday night at Washington, then home for Green Bay. Then they play at Denver, home for Philly, and at Dallas.
Well, like we said, though, at the top of the show, you know, when you're 2-4 and headed to be 3-4, you know, you got to wind up getting to 6-4, 7-4. So, you know, you have some hope. They're 2 games behind most of the playoff contenders now, and that's just for wild card, much less the chasing the conference leaders yet.
First down for the 46, and let's see what they roll it. It is a completion and a fumble or incompletion. Mike Jones involved. It appeared that he had possession and then coughed it up. And also a penalty marker has been thrown in the Seattle backfield. Apparently Mike Jones did recover. So if they call it completion, fumble, and recovery, depending on that flag, it could benefit Seattle.
They're going to have a penalty, though.
Yes, it is coming back.
Holding on the offense, number 82, 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
That's the tight end, Ron Heller. Heller originally signed as a free agent by Dallas, spent 3 years with San Francisco, one with Atlanta, and now a member of the Seahawks. And he's the starter with Paul Green on injured reserve, one of a host of injured Seattle players. Paul Green out with a shoulder problem. It's a 1st and 20 back at the 36. Under 5 minutes remaining in the 4th. Here's Williams. Not much there. Ed Reynolds made the stop. Ed Reynolds signed on Plan B after spending 9 years with New England. He's come on for Steve Diassi. How about Diassi, Bill, earlier in the week? Said following the thrashing at the hands of the Los Angeles Rams, he said, you have to face reality. Speaking of the Giants, he said, we stink. Would that kind of statement bother you?
Well, you know, again, it's post-game statement, and a lot of times players are pretty emotional. But you know, if he really believes that, then the Giants are in trouble, because usually, you know, you kind of become what you think you are, and you know, you go around saying we stink. They might all believe it in a minute.
Gilmore picked off. Dangerous throw by Gilbaugh after all that scrambling, and the rookie Felipe Sparks with the interception.
One of the cardinal rules that you have when you're a quarterback is when you're in trouble. Now, Gilbaugh escaping the rush from Lawrence Taylor, and he reverses his field. Now, if you're going to throw the ball, you don't throw it back across the field in the air. It gives the defense too much time to react, and there you see Sparks making a good interception for the Giants.
Just under 4 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, and the Giants with a 23-10 lead on Seattle. Off the interception by Sparks, Giants back to the offense. Otis Anderson making his first appearance. That's only his second carry of the season. That interception by Sparks, the first of his NFL career. For the Giants, only their fourth of the year. Otis Anderson hearing the applause from the crowd.
Oh, the Giant fans are glad to see him, and you know, there's a guy that the 10,000 yards rushing. You know, in my estimation, he's going to the Hall of Fame, and deservedly so. And he certainly had a lot to do with the success of the Giants. And he's the guy that was able to subordinate his ego for the good of the team, and it looks like the Giants could use, you know, a lot more of that type of thing on the part of a lot of other players.
And Lewis Tillman with his first carry, only his fifth of the season. So Ray Handley, with this game well in hand, a 23-10 lead, has taken out Hampton and Bunch. Strong game for both, and Lewis Tillman and Otis Anderson now operating in the backfield.
Well, you know, going back to Otis Anderson for a second now, we talked about Taylor singing solo. You know, there's another guy that sang solo for a long time, and then he went back and he sang in the choir for a while. And then when we needed him to sing solo again, he did it again. And now he's back in the choir. So some guys can do it, and if they want to, and some guys, you know, just like that key role, and if they can't have it, then they don't want any role.
Here's Tillman on a 3rd down and 6. The final stats on the starting Giant backfield: Bunch 12 carries, 77 yards. Hampton 20 carries, 69 yards. As we approach 2 minutes remaining in this fourth quarter. Timeout call. The Giants lead 23-10. We hope you stay with us after the conclusion of the game for the Old Spice NFL Live post-game report. Bob, OJ, and Will with scores and highlights and a preview of the second half of our doubleheader. 2 minutes remaining, fourth quarter. Giants 23, Seahawks 10. In a 4th and 4 at midfield, Landetta punting away, try to angle it, but it catches the end zone. A 52-yard punt. Right now, time for the Hager wrinkle-free cotton super play of the game. Not a touchdown, but a big play on a 46-yard pass for Stephen Baker, and this led to the Jeff Hostetler 7-yard touchdown run, which opened up the game and gave the Giants a 20-10 lead.
Well, that's the play where Eugene Robinson kind of got lost, and Stephen was able to adjust the ball because he visually had seen it all the way, and Robinson just lost the flight, and Baker made the big key reception.
First down at the 20-yard line for Seattle. Gilbaugh able to avoid trouble and got it away, and a penalty marker is thrown. First, he avoided the rush of Keith Hamilton, the rookie from Pittsburgh. And then Eric Howard all over him. And it may be an intentional grounding. Let's see.
Now that's what it is.
Intentional grounding by the quarterback, number 18. It's a spot foul and a loss of down, brings up second down.
Gilbaugh's getting big pressure first from Keith Hamilton. He just eludes that, and then Eric Howard's there along with Lawrence Taylor. You know, Eric Howard's another guy, you know, when he's completely healthy, that you can you know, you can start building a defense around him, because he's got one thing that a lot of nose tackles don't have, and that's pass rushing ability. He can rush the quarterback.
Gelbaugh completing to Daniels, stopped by Collins. Crowd today, 66,399, so 9,708 no-shows. Deciding to catch your color commentary at home, Bill. And we thank our spotters, Mike Albert, Frank Sirkowski, our statistician, Mr. Stats, Elliot Cow. Once again, Daniels able to make the spin, but short of the first down, stopped by McGriggs. The executive producer of NBC Sports is Terry O'Neill, the coordinating producer of NFL football, John Francis. Today's telecast produced by Tommy Roy, directed by John McDonough, our associate director, Jeffrey Simon, and thanks to our production associate, Jim Bell. We're coming up on 1 minute remaining in this fourth quarter. Once again, short of the first down, Rob Thomas making the catch. Run out by Philippi Sparks. So the Giants will go to a record of 3-4, and Seattle will drop to 1-7, although they did finally score a touchdown.
Well, they've got to, you know, try to find some one or two things positive, and offensively, Seattle was a little bit better today than, you know, what they've had been, and I think probably the reason was that Tom Flores altered his strategy a little bit and allowed Gelbaugh to get rid of the ball a little more quickly, and that helped keeping the minus plays down. And I think that's probably the thing that they'll continue to do as the season goes on.
And the Giants, once again, hearing it from the crowd, but this is really unfair. What, are you going to start putting the ball in the air?
No, you're not going to put the ball in the air. You're just going to run the clock out. And,
there is another factor, though. Those who wager milkshakes from time to time and checking the differential, the Giants with a 13-point lead, just shy of winning a couple of milkshakes for those.
I don't know anything about those milkshakes, right, Marv, and I never knew anything about them, and I know nothing about them now. And
Jeff Hostetler winding up with only 5 of 9 for 94 yards and 1 touchdown. So the Giants with the victory, and they look to the Redskins next Sunday night. Seattle makes it 5 straight losses and a record of 1-7. Ray Handley heard his share of the Ray Must Go chants from the crowd, but the Giants have defeated the Seahawks by the score of 23-10. Stay tuned for the Old Spice NFL Live post-game report. Bob Costas coming up in a moment.